me ask you something. Have you ever found yourself in a place where your marriage feels meh? You're not unhappy, right? You're not unhappy enough to consider divorce, let's say, but you're not fulfilled either. It's like being stuck in a lukewarm bath. It's comfortable enough to get the job done, but not soothing enough to lounge in it a little bit longer with a good book. If that sounds like you, stay with me because today we're going to break down the anatomy of the meh marriage and uncover 3 critical steps that you and your partner got to take to change it. If we haven't met, hello, I am Dr. Lynetta Willis, psychologist, family coach, and organizational trainer. I have worked with families, parents, and high achieving couples for over 20 years, and I support them on their journey to break free from what I like to call stable misery. It's that place where you're not in crisis, but you are not fulfilled. I like to say you're unhappy, unfulfilled, and unclear on how to move forward. I guide families and couples to create the connections that will lead them to feel excited to grow old together and the kind of relationship with their kids so that their kids actually want to visit home when they're older. Okay, so let's dive in. Picture this. You're sitting across from your partner, maybe over dinner or on the couch after a long day, and you both feel fine. Not great, not terrible, just fine. There's no big fight looming, no major issues to tackle, but also no spark, no real connection. It feels as if you're living parallel lives, more like roommates than soulmates. You've likely tried a few things, date nights, books, seminars, maybe even therapy, but nothing seems to really shift that feeling of being stuck in a good enough marriage. Can you relate to this? You're not ready to call it quits, but you're also not excited about your future together. As a matter of fact, the thought of growing old may bring more of a sense of dread than joy. You want more, but you're not sure where to start. So frustrating. Because on paper, the world probably sees you as having it all, right? Maybe you seem to have everything together. All the boxes that you want checked seem to be checked. Right? Career, check. Kids, check. House, check. Car, check. White picket fence, check. All the things in order. Some may have even referred to you as a power couple. But behind closed doors, you and your partner know that that's not the reality. Right? You're afraid that if this continues, that feeling of disconnection is only going to grow, leaving you to feel more isolated in your own marriage. Now, I'm saying this not from a mountain on high, right? But because in addition to working with countless couples stuck in stable misery, I and my partner, Patrick, were in stable misery as well. And that's why today I'm going to share with you the first 3 steps that you can begin to take today to start changing all that. Okay. First step, step 1, acknowledge the disconnect. First, you need to acknowledge that something isn't right. Now, this might sound simple, but it's crucial. It's easy to brush off feelings of disconnection because you're not in crisis mode, right? But you add to that the kids, work, maybe aging parents, or your own physical issues. I've heard from many of you. You've connected with me, you've talked to me, and I get that there are additional stressors that make even this first step feel difficult or maybe not important. There's so many other things on the list above it. But recognizing and naming that you're in a state of stable misery is the first step that you have to take towards change. You have to do this because if you don't acknowledge the issue, you'll continue to drift further apart. Small offenses will continue to fester, and resentment will become the building blocks of your home. And over time, fine will become a major problem. Remember this, you can't fix what you don't face. Okay. And the longer you go without acknowledging the stable misery, the harder it will feel. And the harder the dissatisfaction and the disconnection will feel to repair. Think of it this way. If you have a leaky roof and you fix it quickly, you may have to replace some wood, a few shingles, done, right? But if you let it go, every time it rains, the water is going to get deeper into the wood and cause it to rot. Eventually, the water will drain into your home. Now you need to replace a roof, some wood, a ceiling, some drywall, paint. And if you continue to ignore it, eventually you may have to pull up carpet and tiles. This is what happens when we don't acknowledge or face stable misery head on. It's like allowing the roof in your marriage to keep leaking. And when storms hit your family or your relationship, whether it be disagreements, work-related, parenting stress, extended family issues, whatever, those storm waters will do more and more damage more quickly and start to negatively impact multiple areas of your relationship. And let me give a little caveat here. When I say talk about it, I don't mean what I see a lot of couples doing and what I did, which is complaining about what the other person is doing, right? Is or isn't doing, or isn't saying. That's like talking about the damage the leak is causing versus addressing the leak itself. All right. So talking about, I think we're stuck in stable misery, is different from, you left the dishes in the sink again. That's why we're so miserable. All right. So step one, acknowledge the disconnection. Step two, understand the signs of stable misery. Take a close look at what stable misery actually looks like in your marriage. Stable misery can look different in different marriages, so it's important to learn what it looks like in your marriage. For you, it may involve having the same arguments or unresolved disagreements with the same outcome over and over again. Maybe you're able to get back to baseline and stable footing after those tense moments, but you walk away thinking it's just a matter of time before we hop into that same pit again. Or for you, it may not involve disagreements at all. You may feel more like roommates than soulmates, connecting more over the kids and your career than with each other. I've worked with so many couples who have been like, oh, we are superpower. We are super, like Wonder Twin powers activate when it comes to parenting. All right, we are super parents. But everywhere else, we're meh. Or maybe you're somewhere in between. On a deeper level, stable misery is about the absence of joy, excitement, and deep emotional trust or intimacy. And I don't just mean sex. Intimacy is much broader than just the physical. But that's another video. Understanding the signs of stable misery is important because it helps you identify the specific areas that need your attention. It gives you clarity on what's going on beneath the surface. And at the end of this video, I'm going to tell you how to grab my free assessment so that you can understand if you're in a stable misery marriage, and if so, how to gain a deeper understanding of what that looks like for you so you can start understanding what needs to shift. Without understanding these signs, you will likely misdiagnose the problem and keep trying solutions that don't really address what's really going on. If you say things like, oh, if she would just stop nagging me, or if he would just communicate more, then you're going to try to fix that. But please hear me when I say this. Communication issues, she needs to stop nagging me. He just needs to talk to me more. Those aren't the issues. Those are symptoms. That's not the cause of the leak. That's the water damage. Okay. So what is one sign that you notice that leads you to believe that you're stuck in stable misery or a meh marriage? Type it in the chat. Just one thing, right? And it might be things like we have the same argument all over again, or we never talk, or, right? Start with the signs. Getting to that deeper issue, the assessment's going to help you do that. But if all you have are the symptoms like the water damage, notice that. That happens a lot. Like you don't often know there's a leak until you look at the ceiling and you're like, oh, there's a huge amoeba-shaped brown spot on our ceiling. So starting with those subtle signs is absolutely appropriate and where you need to be, okay? Step 3, take action to reconnect. So finally, once you've acknowledged the disconnect and you've understood the signs, it's time to take action. This could be having an honest conversation with your partner, creating a plan to get you moving in the right direction, or seeking guidance to help you reconnect. This is often where couples bring me in when they realize that action is needed. and not just any action, because they've taken many before, but the right actions, new actions that fit their family, that fit their needs, that will get them unstuck in an efficient way. Some couples are like, just Dr. L, get in the pit with us. Just get in the pit with us, the stable misery pit, and help us get out of here. And I walk side by side with them. So you form new helpful habits in your relationship and deal with the stuff head on that could possibly hijack your progress moving forward. So if you want to know more about how I can help, once you grab the assessment that I have for you, you'll have my email address. I'm the only one who checks it, so you could just reply to that. But for now, let me give you I'm giving you the 3 critical steps that you need to take, whether, with the support of someone like me, or you decide to go it alone, right? So taking action, this 3rd step, is where the magic happens. It's not enough to just acknowledge what's wrong. It's not enough to have an idea of what to fix. You have to actively work to shift how you're both showing up for yourself and in your marriage. Without taking action, you'll likely stay stuck in the same patterns and miss out on deeper connection and fulfillment that you both deserve, that you want to, if you have children, that you want to model for your kids. So, what's one action that you can take today or within the next week, right, to make even one tiny shift, one little tiny shift in one of the stable misery signs that you noted a moment ago? And I mean tiny. It could be like, we're going to talk about how we feel stuck in stable misery over dinner, or when we're laying in bed falling asleep. Or it could be, we're going to create one intentional way to connect in the next week. Just one small shift, because tiny shifts create big, huge shift changes, right? When they're the right actions, when they're the right shifts. So, just to recap, the 3 things you can do to demystify stable misery in your marriage are: first, acknowledge the disconnect, the dissatisfaction, or the subtle drama, whatever it looks like in your marriage. Acknowledge it first within yourself and then with your partner. Second, understand the subtle, easy to miss signs of stable misery that may be showing up in your unique relationship. And third, take action to reconnect and move forward toward a more fulfilling partnership. Look, you deserve a marriage that lights you up. All right. And I'd love to help you get there. So, as I mentioned earlier, I have a self-assessment that you and your partner can complete separately and then compare your answers together that will help you discern what stable misery looks like in your relationship so that you can begin taking the steps that you need to shift out of stable misery and towards joy. Until then, thank you so much for joining me today. Please type your biggest takeaways in the box below. I want to hear them. And I look forward to chatting with you. Bye now.